Well, all right, kiddos, it's time to sharpen up those edges and grease up your chains. We are going to live it up with mountain life. Dropping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, mountain lifers? Welcome to the Live It Up with Mountain Life podcast. Having just returned from a 6-day canoe trip on the Stikine River with some of my best friends and our kids, it's strange to be back in this digital realm. 6 days without the internet, cell signals, or phone calls is good for the soul. Really good. On the 5th morning, I thought to myself, man, we should just keep going. River life is simple. Get up, make coffee, pack your gear, and head downstream. It's healthy, fun, and an incredible way to live. But getting 9 people to commit to 6 days was hard enough, so I have to be grateful for the few days we had. And I have to remember how important it is for us to make that time. It ain't easy, but it's seriously worth it. If anyone knows the value of a river trip, it's our next guest, Benny Marr. A legend in the Canadian whitewater kayaking scene, Marr has done it all. But first, here's a word from our partner, Jack Wolfskin. For almost 40 years, the Jack Wolfskin name and paw print have been a symbol of their trailblazing spirit and regard for nature. Since 1981, they have led the pack with innovative, eco-conscious technologies, a commitment to social responsibility, and forward-thinking designs. If you haven't seen the Jack Wolfskin paw print before, it's because they have only just completed their newest den here in North America. Jack Wolfskin will see you in the wild, wherever that is for you. As far as Canadian whitewater kayakers go, Benny Marr is one of its stars. According to Wikipedia, he received the National Geographic Adventurer of the Year in 2013. Although, as you'll hear in our chat, he's not really aware of that. He's completed a 1-day descent of the Stikine River in BC and has done expeditions to Papua New Guinea, the Congo, Chile, Zimbabwe, and more. Films like The Quality of Imagination, Locked In, and the Grand Inga Project reveal some of the seriously incredible adventures he's been a part of. If you're like me, whenever I watch whitewater kayakers, one question always comes to mind. Is it actually any fun to drop off a 110-foot waterfall? Ben has the answer. Here's my chat with Benny Marr. Benny Marr, welcome to Live It Up with Mountain Life. How's it going?
Very, very well. Nice to meet you, Colin.
Yeah, you too. You too. Where are you now?
Right now, I am just on the banks of the Ottawa River outside of Beachburg, Ontario.
Okay. Is that where you're from?
I grew up, I did all my elementary school and high school in Brockville, Ontario. So I grew up outside of Brockville, but I've been coming to this river maybe since I was 11 years old. So I've spent quite a bit of time here over the years. I'm 36 now.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. How did you get into kayaking?
Hiking came pretty organically from canoe tripping. So lots of Algonquin Park canoe trips, probably from when I was age 2. And then there's a little bit of whitewater in the park you can sniff out. And then whitewater canoeing. And then eventually ended up seeing more kayaks around. And I was curious about that. So I probably sat in one when I was 7 or 8 or whatever. And then when I was 9, my parents found a kayak. So on all the canoe trips, I started using a kayak instead of the canoes. And over time, just spent more and more time each summer on summer holidays with my dad. He would still canoe and I would kayak, less family trips and more trips, just the two of us.
Okay.
And I ended up getting left up here on the Ottawa River when I was 14 for maybe a couple weeks. And then probably when I was 16, I got a job. So lots of time here.
Yeah.
Lots.
You got a paddling job?
No, I was staying at a rafting company. I was too young to work on the river, and I was just hanging around waiting for people to go kayaking. So they ended up just putting me on a lawnmower, I think originally, and then I was, like I said, I was too young to be a guide or video boater or safety kayaker. So I worked on the resort, like firewood, maintenance, security. And I found by doing that, I actually kayaked more, and if not more, then more enthusiastically than all the people who had to spend all day working on the river in the sun. So the job I had motivated me to get to the water instead of spending my time working on the water. So it was a
Right.
good early lesson for me to work to paddle instead of working while paddling.
Yeah, right. And was that owl rafting or
No, so that business was called River Run,
okay.
and that company um, uh, was bought. So I'm not sure how many years ago, but owl rafting, their base is further downstream, and River Run is right at takeout for the main the main section that we do. So
Yeah.
that's now the Wilderness Tours Resort
Okay.
is down there.
Cool. And so I guess you were doing well, you said you did lots of family canoe trips. Um, I'm doing them with my son now, canoe trips. Do you have a favorite river that you look back as a family that you enjoyed the most?
The lower Madawaska, I'd
Oh yeah.
say. Um, there was a handful of other runs that we traveled to, but some of them I think we only did once. So I don't exactly remember all of the names. Um, I just remember specific rapids, but the lower Mad, we we did that quite a few times, different like with my dad, my sister, and my gran, and then other families, and then over the years with me in a kayak, and I just have the most memories from that section of whitewater.
Right. Yeah. Pretty short though.
Pretty sure I can't I know we definitely did some 5 day trips, but I think there's a lot of maybe there's layover days. I don't know what it's like to try to canoe from place to place and break camps and set up camps with kids. I'm sure it takes a long time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but also just lots of fond memories in Algonquin Park, just doing typical um, lake travel with portages in between.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
I really,
We did the Petawawa last year and it kicked our asses.
yeah, right from starting inside the park.
Yep. Yep. Right to the end of there.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
That
cool.
absolutely destroyed us. Some of those portages were no fun at all.
There's some long ones in there.
There is, yeah. Cool. So what is it about kayaking that hooked you for life, I suppose, eh? So far.
It seems, yeah, so far it seems pretty hooked for life. I'm totally open to that changing, but I can't imagine what would that would be a pretty big shift that I don't really foresee happening. But I think freestyle kayaking, it's a big part of what happens here on the Ottawa River. There's so many waves, so many. There's a variety of waves that come in at different water levels, and to have the game of trying to get better at surfing and trying to do tricks. I think that's true for any sport. It's very it kind of distracts you from for what I found is when I'm trying to do tricks, I'm distracted from a lot of the elements of kayaking that you need to arrange to do a trick because you just you're distracted by that and um, or from that and you're very focused on just the result. And as a younger kayaker, you just have endless energy. There's like nothing to stop you. Just surf after surf after surf trying to do a trick. I think it would be the same for skiing, snowboarding, same for skateboarding. You could go skateboarding, 3 hours can go by because you're trying to do a kickflip or something. And I found the same thing with freestyle kayaking. So just the desire to do tricks meant you spend a heap of time on the water. And this river with warm water and long summer days, it was just very easy to spend a lot of time. So that that was pretty interesting. And there's waves all over the world. So as a young kayaker, just looking at magazines and videos and seeing all these waves in cool places where you just want to go and surf the waves and run rapids, but the peripheral entertainment started to add up as well, going to Uganda and Southeast Asia, and eventually quite a few places. All these side benefits added up with kayaking, where my desires and focus was pretty always pretty specifically on doing freestyle tricks, surfing, or running interesting rapids.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things that add up in the background, and a lot of community and a lot of friendships that kind of span all over the globe instead of just your local spot. So there's just all those things adding up over time makes it a really compelling choice to move around to different rivers and check out different areas. And it just, at some point the list is endless, and then once you have gone to a certain amount of places, the list starts to shrink, but also the places that you love that I have access to just being in North America. And I love paddling here. That's all over North America. So the places where I travel, that's starting to be more consistent, more of a pattern.
Yeah.
As I get older. So that's been really important and really nice as well.
Yeah. I think I saw the Locked In movie at the Pursuits Film Festival in Meaford and a few years ago, and man, that looked like a heinous trip. How was it?
It was amazing. It was about as wild as of a trip that I would ever endeavor to do. We definitely had, for how remote we were and for how inaccessible, or for how difficult to access some of the places that we still had a good safety net. We had people checking up on us, obviously filming, and the helicopter buzzing around. They always knew where we were, and we could communicate back and forth with in-reach devices. So we didn't feel as isolated as we were at some points. But yeah, it was a very interesting trip, very difficult. There was a lot of skill sets that I don't have, that like I was a very weak member with any of the rope work and any of the technical rappelling or climbing. But the river was beautiful, really challenging, and basically the main part was there were certain gorges we couldn't run, and to move around them, we couldn't do that at river level. So I think we ended up lugging boats around for maybe 7 days on our longest portage just to move, not so much downstream progress. But while from maybe before a trip like that happens, when you don't know, there's a mix of excitement and trepidation about what might happen, and really careful consideration of what risks you are taking on as a group and what those could result in. And then looking back on it, or during something like that, there's not much room to do anything else except experience it and work hard and keep moving forward together. And then looking back, it's a very nice experience to have gone through with those friends. And yeah, it was pretty haywire for sure.
You said you basically were portaging for 6 days. Was that like, did you have to because you knew there was stuff downstream that was no good, or did you not know and never know?
Well, we had a pretty good layout map, kind of the various canyons, because we were able to fly. Well, Ben Stooksbury and Chris Corbulic, they flew the whole section, and they were able to get some photos and videos, but they also had a GoPro mounted to the bottom of the helicopter. So we had a shot of the whole section that we were attempting to run, and because of that, we knew we had all the gorges kind of numbered. some we knew we could run, some we didn't know if we could run. But
Okay.
the
Yep.
7-day portage event was, yeah, we were just above an unknown if we should run section, and we were able to scout a little bit closer, and we just couldn't really drop into it. It is a really weird river. There's um, just lots of gnarly spots, like maybe even rock piles where the river would kind of disappear underneath a
Oh
bunch of
wow.
boulders for a section. So just
Yikes.
wasn't really navigable at river level, and some of the canyons were quite vertically walled. So
Yeah.
yeah, it just took us a long time
Yeah. Amazing.
to find routes and safely get all four of us and all of our kit. We had a lot of we all had our kayaks obviously, but we had an impact drill with extra batteries so that we could create safe rappelling systems and hammers and we
Yeah.
had stuff just in case the drill failed, and um, lots of gear. So it just took us a long time to find a good path and to move along it all together.
Yeah. Okay. And then you did the Grand Inga Project. Man, I just started watching that movie. I got nervous just watching that thing. That thing was terrifying. Can you explain what that project was?
Yeah, that was in I think 2011. Um, and there's one of the kayakers I looked up to a lot when I was younger was Steve Fisher, and he we ended up paddling together quite a bit over the years. And the Grand Inga Project was um, a really big career goal and personal kayaking goal of his. So we were on the Congo River in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where they're technically um, the highest volume rapids in the world. There's rivers that have more volume in them than the Congo does at peak flow when they reach the ocean, but none of those rivers have significant gradient. So the rapids in Inga, the Inga Rapids are, I guess, just technically the biggest in the world. So that was his project to go and run the biggest whitewater in the world and complete the section from expeditions in the past. They either had kind of tragic results trying to run those rapids, or they portaged around them to mitigate the risk. So that was the point of the trip, and also just to go and see some of the most magnificent whitewater around. Um, and we ended up running. We also those are those two projects are definitely the biggest projects I've been a part of. A lot of
Yeah.
a lot of budget and um, and also just captured specifically really well. So we had a helicopter on that trip as well, so we were able to see a lot of the whitewater from above and make a plan each day so that we could um, try to run as much of it as possible. We were trying to keep a steady, like a line throughout the whole thing, like a continued descent, even though we were leaving each day. We weren't staying on the river or anything. We were getting flown back to town and then flown back into the river where we had finished the day before.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, we were able to connect all the dots and make it through. We had to go around the sides of the biggest rapid, and but we ended up in the middle of the river running really interesting and very difficult and very dangerous whitewater. With it's hard to explain. That Steve does a really good job in the movie explaining the size
Yeah.
of the whitewater. And I don't know, maybe something that's pretty could be relevant is in 2019 there's a lot of flooding in Ontario. Like the Rouge River, for example, went over 1,000 cubic meters per second, and that was the limit of the dam that was built there. So that whole valley got evacuated. The Ottawa River flooded huge, and I don't know the exact numbers, but in downtown Ottawa, I think they had to close a bridge, and I think there was about 5,000 cubic meters per second of water going through Ottawa.
Yeah.
A lot more once the Ottawa River confluences with the St. Lawrence. And at that time in the Congo, I think we had over 30,000 cubic meters per second in the river, and it was around. I'm not completely guessing. I'm just trying to remember. I think we were over 1.6 million cubic feet per second. So,
oh my gosh,
it's unreal. You can stand beside a big river like the Ottawa River in a huge flood like 2019, and it's nowhere near what was happening in the Congo. So it was a very new experience for all of us to try to understand how water was working, because we've only really studied it and read water at a much different scale. Very cool experience.
Yeah.
It was wild.
I mean, he makes it seem really dramatic and really dangerous. Is that just for show, or it actually, I mean, just looking at the footage, it looks freaking dangerous.
No, that's by far the most dangerous thing I've chosen to do.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was a long time ago. Like
Right.
I was 25, I think. So I see things a lot differently now, just from living through the next decade, and still being very involved in whitewater kayaking and still looking for new experiences. I think anyone who's 25 right now, however they see themselves and they see what they do, they could probably understand that it's a lot different than when they were 15. So they could expect that they might see things a lot differently again by the time they are 35. So
yeah,
to go through it at like relatively a pretty young age, it's kind of wild to think about. If there was a 25-year-old kayaker who wanted to go out and do that, I don't know what I would say to them.
Yeah.
Because just the risk assessment, I feel like my risk assessment is somewhat stable and consistent throughout, the past decade and before that, and hopefully after. But I do think that my attitude was quite different. So it's easy to understand the risks you're taking, because all you have to do is look at the water and feel how difficult it was for us to move around, and understand that the subcurrents were a huge part, like unreadable for the most
Yeah.
part, and a really big part of what we had to deal with each day. But
Wow.
it was every bit as dangerous as he makes it seem.
How old was he during that trip? Do you know? Do you remember?
I don't know. I think he might be 10 years older than me.
Okay.
So he may have been 35.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was the age I am now, or probably either he's probably 8 or 10 years older than me. So he might have been 30, 35 or 33. I can't
Yeah.
quite remember. He might even be older, but
Okay.
it was very risky. And we had
Yeah.
a lot of things in place to keep ourselves safe individually and together as a team. But I think it is quite incredible that 4 of us went in there every day, and
Yeah.
that not like some things happen for sure, as you'll see if you keep watching the movie, just with whirlpools and things you couldn't really plan for, but you had to just have an open mind about, because it could have happened at any time, just because of how wild that water was. But yeah,
Yeah.
super dangerous.
And you guys got the National Geographic Adventures of the Year for that, yeah?
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
if we did.
That's what your Wikipedia says.
Yeah, I've been told that. I just don't know if that's true
So
or what.
it didn't come with a giant check or anything.
No, but I haven't looked into it myself. I think it was the same with the locked in thing. There might have been, I don't know what Wikipedia's source is, but
Yeah.
if I don't, if anything, my guess is that we were nominated
Okay.
um, for one or both of those two trips, but I don't know if we actually. I don't know.
Awesome. And like, do you have more plans to do stuff like that, or are you considering it, or?
Well, I have at this point now. I see my I guess either goals or my ideas or the places I'd like to go where I haven't been yet. I just see them, um, that list shrunk over the years, and I know that I may do some of them, I may not do others, but um, yeah, there's things I would really like to do while I still have the enthusiasm and capability. Nothing on at least like not taking on a river like that. Um, there's definitely high volume whitewater is still a really big um, high volume rivers are something I'm really enthusiastic about. I really like being in big water, so I do that every year. Um, Quite often, really, I spend a lot of time trying to be around rivers like the big ones, but nothing like that.
Yeah.
And there just isn't so much uh, around, and uh, here in the Ottawa Valley and in northern Quebec on the Mistassini, Mouchouan rivers. Those are really big. So I go up there every year and spend time there surfing and just running the whitewater like that. But
Right. So
um,
less of a descent and more of a search for wave kind of thing.
either searching for waves or just looking around at different water levels. Um, but what I really like is running really fun sections of whitewater and
Yeah.
then paying attention so that if a wave comes in, ready to go surf it.
Right. Cool. And what's your year like now? I think you spent a bunch of the spring in Quebec. Are you and you sort of said you're sticking in North America. You've got a bit of a yearly cycle going on now.
I do. I have. I guess I don't. Maybe it's over the past 8 years or so. It's been quite consistent, though. I guess it's a version of consistency.
Hmm.
And so at this time, usually around this time, I'm enjoying the Ottawa River and then thinking about driving out to the West Coast to be kayaking in British Columbia for the summer.
Hmm.
Um, but there's a kayak school here called the Ottawa Kayak School, and they have a really cool program called the Keener program.
Okay.
So teenage teenage kayakers come for 3 weeks, and it's basically a youth development program, and they spend lots of everyday kayaking amongst other activities. So I'll be working. That starts next week, so I'll be with that program for 3 weeks, and then doing some private instruction and coaching just on my own here. So
Hmm.
after after the spring season, which we like to call the stakeout season,
Okay.
there's just a certain amount of time that I'm here on the Ottawa River, and I visit family while I can, and then zip out to BC, usually like summer, fall, British Columbia, and then I'll start thinking about traveling where I'm going to either go paddle for myself or arrange more coaching and instruction work, and that's usually in Zambia on the Zambezi River and or in Chile on the Futalefu River. And I travel from either Vancouver or a little further south. I travel out of Portland sometimes. In my North American winter, when I'm here, is spent in Washington, where the winter season can be the best kayaking season if it's quite rainy.
Okay.
And then I stay there, and that's kind of my first spring
Yeah.
um, through the end of winter, where it's still quite deep winter in Ontario and Quebec, and I just paddle there as much as I'd like and drive back out here. And that's more or less the cycle.
Okay. So you are sort of coaching, teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. I've run some kayaking and yoga retreats where I partner with a nutritionalist chef, and I'll teach a bit of yoga or play play yoga videos that I've asked instructors that I know to make with me,
Okay.
and just try to paddle as much as we can, amongst trying to be set up for good success with recovery, and uh, but also pretty fun evenings, like let people sleep and no set schedule, but we try to kayak a lot and just have everything in place so it's a really fun um, week where there's good food available, good
Yep.
movement available, and right beside a good river. And then I also just do private work where people will hire me by the day or for a week, um, wherever, and I use my favorite rivers to do that because my favorite rivers have space for all skill levels at the same time. So I use the Ottawa River, the Clearwater River in British Columbia, the Zambezi River in Africa, and the Futaleufú River in Chile. I
Yeah.
find those to be really forgiving areas. Um, you can learn on those rivers. You can take your first strokes. You can be intermediate, expert, advanced. You can paddle past people who are learning how to roll, and you can see professional kayakers all in the same day,
Yeah. Oh, cool.
finding things to challenge themselves and
Yeah.
in whatever you can. It's cool, but all those rivers you can start somebody out, and you can see somebody doing Instagram worthy tricks for their following or whatever.
Yeah. Cool. Are there like freestyle contests these days?
Yep, for sure. There's the World Championship of freestyle kayaking is coming up I think this October in Columbus.
Okay.
Um, and they had a World Cup there last year. And I mean, I think this past weekend there was a freestyle event in Colorado at the GoPro Mountain Games. So there's freestyle events, around uh, throughout Europe and the United States, and a little bit in Canada. There's always the Canadian or American or European team selections happening every couple years.
Yeah.
And there used to be some more like core organized invitational events. Um, one from a kayaker who's local to this river, the Ottawa River, Patrick Hamlin. He created an event called the Whitewater Grand Prix, and that went on a couple times between the Ottawa River and Quebec, but also once in Chile.
Yeah.
And another younger group of kayaking, they kind of picked up the torch from that and made their own version called Unleashed, and they had two events, same Quebec, Ontario, and then one in Uganda. But um, big wave, I guess what we call big wave, like high volume freestyle kayaking, it's a short window of time each year
Right.
that we might have these amazing waves, and
Yeah.
they're really cool. And my personally, it's it's fun to watch, and those events were really cool to watch and participate in. But for waves that might be in, for a couple days a year, I'd rather not be surfing them with a time limit and someone
Yeah.
judging me for points. But
Right.
those events did really well, and they did a, got great viewership for kayaking and those athletes. And
Yeah.
but it's a lot of work for an individual or a team to take on, and the payoff seems to come from completing a goal and doing something for the whitewater community to watch, and doing something for the athletes to participate in it. So right now there hasn't been anything on big waves,
Okay. Yeah.
uh, but the worlds are on a medium sized wave that I've never surfed. People seem to really enjoy. That'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, I was saying to my family the other day, I love whitewater kayaking, but or paddling. I'm in a canoe, but kayaking I feel is pretty similar. But we were just looking at photos of guys doing waterfalls, and I have no desire to paddle down a waterfall. Is that something you do as well?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have,
Yeah.
and I don't know what amount or size of waterfalls are in my future. I certainly have zero. Um, like I've let go of any of the waterfalls that I have not run that I was interested in running.
Yeah.
Those aren't goals that are going to motivate me anymore.
Okay.
Um, it and I never was like a that was never one of my focuses.
Yeah.
But over the years, I did end up running um, waterfalls that I had always wanted to run, and some I ran that I wasn't sure if I wanted to run.
Yeah.
And I guess over a long period of time, I've run quite a few. And I did that a little, I don't know how differently, but lots of people say that it's a young kayaker's game running waterfalls because there's a
Okay.
certain amount of you know recovery that just happens almost automatically when you are younger.
Yeah.
And even one of the rivers that I always hesitate to call a river my favorite, but one of my favorite rivers as per its volume and gradient has a 35 foot waterfall on it. And I used to run it. I've been paddling that river for a long time since I was 19. And I definitely ran it my first time down and was quite sore the next day. But
Yeah.
I went from running that, maybe every couple days or not knowing if I was going to run it to every day, multiple times a day. And now at this point, this past year, I didn't run it once because the way that my body feels after it just takes away from if I just don't run that waterfall, then it's easier for me to kayak every day or twice a day and feel good versus feeling sore or feeling mildly injured. So um yeah, I've been kind of stepped away from that. But yeah, I ran
Okay.
quite a few. Um it is kind of crazy looking, I guess, eh? But
It is. It's what everyone,
yeah.
it's like I don't know, the Great Lake surfers are covered in icicles. Everyone thinks they're crazy. A kayaker
Yeah.
going over a waterfall looks crazy. And to me, it doesn't look fun. Is it fun?
It's incredible. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's very and it yeah, there's a lot of opinions about how difficult it is. And like I said, it's a young hackers game, so that's another thing. It's the same as like if you're, between the ages of 18 and I mean in my case even 30, whatever, but young a young person's perspective changes over time. So if you're seeing a lot of people the same age running kayaking, their perspectives of it are going to change over the years, and the way they behave before and after they run something will change over the years as well. So it's not surprising that people think it's crazy and if people are being nonchalant about it, but in reality it's not. You can look at it as being easy because we're just sitting in a kayak and going down it, and that's totally a fair perspective. But when you watch somebody run waterfalls who is quite skilled at it or even gifted at it, there's a really unique, from my perspective, combination of awareness and um, calmness and mental control and physical control,
Yeah.
because what you're experiencing is you're experiencing a 90-degree shift in perception that's immediately leading you into a free fall sensation. So that's not uh it's really cool. And
Yeah.
once you're in the, I'd say 50, like even I guess like say above 40 feet, like 30, 40 feet, you get a whisper of you get a glimpse, but you're doing so much with your body to control the angle that your boat will interact with the water, that
Yeah.
there's a lot going on in a short amount of time. But when you get into 50, 60, 70, 80 feet, then you you have to do a lot to keep your boat where you want it. arrive at the lip where you want to control your body when you, instead of, riding currents of the river, you can only ride the current so far, and then you're falling at the same speed that the water's falling. So your movements, very small movements, have a really big effect on your body position and your boat. And that affects, how safe you'll be once you hit the water.
Right. Right. Is it, I mean, it seems like the ultimate kayak thing to do. Is it like, I I just briefly thought, is it like getting barreled for a surfer or?
I don't know.
Yeah.
um, it can be the ultimate in some ways. It's, the best photos.
Yeah. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
easy to understand um, from a non-kayaker's perspective. So they get a lot of attention, and and I guess from a media perspective, slow motion barrel or good photo could be similar, but the sensations, I can't compare. And yeah, you asked if it was fun. It's incredible, the feeling of free fall, even for just a short amount of time,
Yeah.
is cool. But coming away safely from a tall waterfall where you were able to manage your body position and boat angle and keep a clear mind as you come over the lip of a waterfall, depending on how tall it is, it kind of, you can take your breath away or drop your stomach. um, so to be able to sit, let that physical sensation wash over you and pass through you and keep your eyes on something, 100 feet, 80 feet below you, and keep your shit together, is basically, to come away from that, it's a really nice feeling. You have obviously some adrenaline from from kayaking over something like that, but I always found a nice amount of um, accomplishment, and almost like passing a test that you decided to take for yourself.
Okay. Yeah. What do you know what the biggest waterfalls you did were?
Yeah, it was around 110 feet,
Wow.
and that was up in the Northwest Territories,
Yeah.
Alexandria Falls. So that's a cool waterfall. It had a good history. It was the world record.
Oh, that's like Hay River
Just
around there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
up
Yeah.
there. This guy Ed Lucero ran it pretty high
Okay.
water in a freestyle kayak years ago. I think in a Hawaiian shirt. And for a record to count, or a descent to count, um, broadly, you kind of have to stay in your kayak.
Yeah.
And then years later, my friend Tyler um, ran that waterfall and stayed in his boat. So that was the world record. And my friend Rush ran it right after him and came out of his boat. And then I don't think anyone ran it for a long time. And I was up there going to do attempt a first descent on this really cool canyon. And after we finished that, we went there, and I was with a friend who's run a lot of um, waterfalls over 100 feet I never had. And there's a nice line in the middle, so it was a line that hadn't been run yet. And um, yeah, we both ran it. So that's the only experience I've had going at the 100-foot realm.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. It was super fun. And I think I was 33 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
32, 33. And I I drove south and went to visit some friends in Alberta after that, and I could feel it in my body for about a week,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, it was very cool. I've run lots in the 80 zone and 60 and 70, and certainly not as many as some, but I've never um, hurt myself. So
Yeah.
I always felt good about trying to get into and out of that sort of um, that discipline of whitewater kayaking.
Okay, cool. I just watched the Caleb Roberts film Quality of Imagination.
Yeah,
And you're doing like aerials in that. Is that a new thing for kayaking?
no, I people have been using, and the designs have been changing to allow that to happen more easily.
Okay.
Um, but a lot of freestyle competitions that I was talking about, they take place in smaller features where the kayakers are definitely getting themselves and their boats out of the water,
Yeah.
but they're more submerging as much of the volume of the kayak as they can in so that it then pops out.
Yeah.
And then on the waves, yeah, we get to surf around and um, try to find parts of the wave where we can build up a lot of speed, and then similarly, we're trying to dig our sides of our boat into the water so that they get rejected out. But it's um, the the style of surfing and surfing big waves and kayaking that's been around for quite a long time. It's
Yeah.
just what's changed is the waves that we have access to because of people finding them, um, and the rivers, having the time to go and see rivers at multiple flows and go to the spots where you think there will be a wave, or to see if a small wave will get bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
Um, and small waves, tech pretty much like the bigger the wave, the more impressive the amplitude.
Right.
So Ottawa River now, there's lots of small waves around. Super fun. We're doing tricks, but certainly nothing quite as big looking as anything in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
film from Caleb.
Right. Cool. I just have what do you remember your worst swim, or what was your worst swim story you've had?
Oh, for sure. So Steve Fisher, who I mentioned, he he the Congo, the Grand Inga Project was his project, and the movie is, he did do a lot of filming, directing, producing, and uh, like he cut that film together, wrote, did a lot of writing for it, and so he was someone I watched in videos from when I was very young, and um, magazines as well. And he ran the first descent on this waterfall in Quebec called Chutes de Saint Ursule, and I'd gone there a couple just to look at it. It's very beautiful, very big piece of whitewater. So I've been there a few times to look, and just the first time I went, I just kind of wondered that, oh, I think I could keep my head together enough to run that one day.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, I was very unprepared, um, as far as how prepared you could be when you go. Like it just been paddling in Quebec, like only surfing and running big water, and when you run not just waterfalls but cascades, like when you run whitewater, like steep creeks where your boat's interacting with rocks a lot, there's not so much um, flow and current to use. I'm not as accustomed to that. I'm used to more water, so I paddled a few rapids around here, the steeper, shallower rapids of the Ottawa River, to try to prepare a bit because it looked like there was a good flow. And um, I guess I mentioned Steve because of whether I meant to or not, I kind of followed a lot in his footsteps. So
Yeah.
I went there with a crew, and water level was as good as whatever. I don't know. It looked fine. And I felt really good, and I decided to run it. And it was getting late. There was a whole bunch of things that was just like not the greatest um, set of circumstances. And I felt very good at the top waiting for everyone. There's three other people there doing safety and shooting photos. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I don't even feel nervous. And I was really excited to experience running it. And another thing that happened that we didn't notice which may or may not have changed the end result, was the water dropped quite a bit. So yeah, I made a small mistake entering totally like a low water thing, and me not being so great at dealing with rocks, and my bow spun, which was fine. I just completed a 360 and was more or less where I had wanted to be. I remember thinking, okay, that's not ideal for like that will bother me.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't clean. It wasn't like what I intended, but whatever. I've got to run this thing. And yeah, I ended up getting pretty tomahawked. Really, I got spun sideways, hit a rock, and did a full rotation and landed in this tiny little pocket where it's a crazy place to end up because you should have been zipping through there at who knows what speed. And I got stuck there and ended up having to leave my kayak because I was completely stuck, which is a good thing I got out because my kayak then got shoved even deeper into a weird spot, and I got pushed into an undercut that we didn't really know was there. It was a cool experience. I was able to just kind of be aware, like I'm underwater. I'm actually in a spot that I didn't know that I should have prepared to be in, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to think too much. I'm not going to move too much. The oxygen I have is the only oxygen I've got, so I just waited to see what would happen, like what the current would do.
Yep.
And eventually it started to float up, and I had quite a bit more of the rapid to go. I can't remember, it's probably drops like between 250 and 300 feet.
Whoa.
It's not a straight waterfall, it's a long cascade. And so I was swimming down the next thing, and I knew, like, well, maybe if I could just get to the right, maybe I could claw myself out of this thing. Because and I hit my head. I had a nice full face helmet on, but I remember hitting my head, and then there's no way I could get out. And the next drop was like a 70-foot waterfall, basically. It just kind of comes off, then reconnects with rock and goes down. So I took a classic whitewater swim position. I put my feet in front of me and my arms out, and I went over the first part and kind of bounced off the rock shelf on my ass, and then I ended up in this crouching position and just landed in the pool completely okay. But it was pretty messed up. A lot of other outcomes were available to happen,
Yeah.
and I was fine. I definitely had some bumps and bruises, and the boat never came out. I got the boat back quite a while later.
Wow.
Yeah, I stayed in a hotel close by and had an ice tub, and kind of I was bleeding a lot from these cuts. They had mangled their hotel sheets, and I went back to try and get it, but I couldn't really move my arm super well. And I went back a month later, and it had washed out. It was like half a kayak.
Wow.
By the time wherever it got stuck, it just kind of got worn away. But
Yeah.
it was, yeah, lots of lessons
Yeah.
learned. I was pretty nonchalant about the undertaking. I was kind of trying to just kind of move through running something like that, and I ignored um, a lot of really great reasons to not do it. It's a long drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was tired. I knew what it was like for me in particular, to go from my normal kayaking into a different type of kayaking, and I just thought, oh, I never just like I can sit this kayak's great. I just put my brain in my body, like just keep moving this thing forward, and I can do it. And it just, that plus the water shutting off, it just wasn't the right set of circumstances. But yeah, that's the worst swim I've ever had.
I don't imagine you swim very often, do you?
No, not so much, but I'm not I don't count on that.
Yeah.
It can sneak up and get you
Yeah.
very early.
Sure.
You never know.
How is the whitewater scene in whitewater paddling scene in Canada these days?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on out here in Ottawa and up more north on the Ottawa River in this area where the rafting is happening, and British Columbia, like the Sea to Sky corridor, the Coast Mountains, they've got great rafting scene, good kayaking scene, interior BC and the Clearwater River. There's who knows how many kayakers there are. I have
Yeah.
no idea,
Yeah.
but um, there's certainly seems like lots from my perspective. You know what I mean? Like it's not like a
Yeah.
ski hill. We're lucky that rivers kind of are self cleaning of kayakers. Like people, it's fun to go down them. It's fun to surf and stay in one spot for a long time. But there's lots of amazing rivers and lots of people out paddling them and exploring them and looking for new ones all over.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have any advice for people that want to get into whitewater kayaking?
Yeah, if I think if they are independent of a friend group and looking to get into it, that's really cool because it's a daunting. It's hard to take on any new sport, but when you're taking on a sport that you don't have to just pick up a ball or um, stick in a puck or whatever it is, there's a lot of gear and there's a lot of things to learn. That's a really cool endeavor, and without without a friend to guide you or a mentor, the best thing you can do is go and get some classic instruction
Yeah.
and do that at a kayak school or do that with a local kayaker privately if you find one, and that person is going to open up a lot of doors with the skills so you can decide if you like it. You can show you the whitewater. You can decide if that's an environment that you would like to explore in or shred in or experience, and they can help you get all the gear. So kayak schools and instructors, and if it's something that your friends do, just lean on them.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Cool. So what's next for you?
there's yeah, we'll see. I might be out in the Ottawa Valley a bit longer than normal before I head back out to British Columbia, and I do have some. I'll probably be on the Zambezi River again, and maybe down in Chile again, which is just kind of what I've been trying to do for work. But I do hope I'm trying to get some plans more cemented for 2024 and 2026 to start picking off I guess the last few things, the last few places I want to go, the last few rivers that I want to see. Not the last, but the ones that have been on my list the most consistently for the longest time that I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
Um, there are quite a few places in Ontario, Quebec, the East Coast, and then in the subarctic that I'd really like to be able to go and see and have an experience and look for waves and cool rapids to run.
Cool. Cool. I think that's about it, unless you have anything else you want to tell us, add.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colin.
Yeah. Thank you, man. It's good chatting with you. And yeah, have a great summer.
I will.
Okay. See you,
All
Ben.
right.
Thanks, man.
Cheers, dude.
I'd like to thank Benny Marr for taking the time to speak with us. If you want to see what he's up to, follow his social media channels or check out his website that's being rebuilt right now. It's at www.bennyfcknmarr.com. Our West Coast MC Feet Banks will be back in 2 weeks' time. I'm sure he'll be interviewing someone rad. Mountain Life's 20th anniversary continues through this summer, so be sure to check out the print mags, whether that's Blue Mountain, Coast Mountains, the Rockies, or La Vie Montane. Find them wherever you go for a decent selection of outdoor gear. or you can get a subscription over at mountainlifemedia.ca. Thanks to Shariah Rules for the voiceovers in the intro, and to Adrian Gendro for the guitar licks. And thanks to you all for listening. Until next time, 2 wheels, 1 love. Peace.